Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome. This is the Windup, SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show. 7 conference weekends are officially in the books, and we are here breaking it all down, recapping, discussing what went down over the weekend. Another jam-packed, electric weekend on the diamond in the SEC. I'm Chris Phillips. He is Harrison Fant, joining me once again. Once again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $200 in bonus bets today. Once again, this is the Windup, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show. We are here breaking down the weekend that was in the SEC. And what a weekend it was, as conference weekend number 7 comes to a close. Obviously, we were on the road in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, witnessing LSU taking 2 of 3 against Tennessee in dramatic fashion. Texas makes a statement against the arch rival A&M, and other notable results across the league as well. Once again, I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my good friend, my co-host, my colleague, Harrison Fant. Harrison, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. Excited to break it all down with you. What another jam-packed week, another electric weekend we have to break down.
Chris, it's always good to be here with you talking college baseball, especially the best conference in college baseball, the SEC. And every week, I mean, I don't know if we can just continue to expect it, but just it feels like it's the standard of which college baseball in the SEC is, an electric weekend somewhere in the SEC every single weekend. I mean, we got it across the board, it felt like this week.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where this is just the standard. This is what you get. It never disappoints. It always delivers. Again, we have 3 more of these left. So as we continue to say, let's savor them. Let's not take them for granted. But certainly this past weekend delivered. By the way, guys, forgot to mention, we are also going to discuss Mississippi State making a move on Chris Lemonis, give some thoughts on our top candidates for that job, and just talk about that job as a whole, state of the program, what it means for Mississippi State baseball moving forward. But again, guys, with that being said, we will get into your questions, your comments at the end of the show. We appreciate all those tuned in live across Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. See a lot of you talking about the Baton Rouge trip. And again, we will get more into that in just a second. But as we always do, and we turn our attention to what happened over the weekend, Harrison, let's start with the Thursday through Saturday series. And I want to go to Athens, Georgia, as the Georgia Bulldogs take 2 of 3 from the Oklahoma Sooners. It's interesting. This series felt like it got over so early, I think, because you had the noon first pitch on Friday, and it kind of almost sort of got lost in the shuffle a little bit, especially for the quality of series it was. But Dogs protect the home field. They rebound from a really tough Game 1 loss. The Bats come alive yet again. They feed the trees, and it's Georgia taking 2 of 3. And what I felt like was, I don't know if must-haves a little aggressive, but on the home field, it was a big one for the Dogs, and they respond in a big way and get the series done.
Yeah, Chris, you respond in a big way after, losing Game 1 at home against a good Oklahoma team who, don't get it wrong, it's a good Oklahoma team. This middle of the pack, Chris, is so dense and so top heavy. It feels like in the middle of the SEC, if that makes any sense. And, Oklahoma's right in the thick of that. Obviously, Georgia's kind of the bottom of the upper tier of SEC clubs, with Texas, LSU, Tennessee, right there on that cusp of, that best teams in the SEC, but Arkansas as well. And, you're facing Kyson Witherspoon on a Game 1. Obviously, that's no easy task to go against. And, he goes out there and shoves like he does every single week. It feels like, surprisingly not double-digit strikeouts like we feels like we're used to with him. But, 8 punchies and 7 will take that. He'll take that for sure. But, Game 1 was, for me, watching and looking back on it, it just felt like Georgia chased a lot of pitches out of the zone. And Oklahoma didn't. They expanded the zone on Georgia, chasing. That means, you get a bigger strike zone in theory to work with because you're chasing fastballs out of the zone, chasing sliders, whatever it is, down. And, just kind of removing Georgia from how they kind of approach the plate, how their plate discipline is kind of throughout the season, just the mature hitters that they are. So that's what kind of got to them in Game 1. And obviously the comeback late in the game, that wasn't enough. Obviously, there's no moral victories, I feel like, especially this Georgia Bulldog team doesn't feel like that. But, you know, you lose game one like that, and they bounce back and respond, Chris. I mean, game 2 and game 3, you put up double digits in both games. I mean, 10-9 and then 10-9 again. Obviously, it's just I think it shows to the fact that, or sorry, 6-3 in game 3. It shows the fact that like the resilience that Georgia is, and playing at home and how well they do play at home, and just like you said, feeding the tree. Something that just maybe one of the most comfortable teams in the SEC in doing is hitting home runs at home. Georgia's up there, obviously. I think they still lead the SEC in home runs, if I'm correct.
I believe so. Yeah,
I'll fact check that while I discuss it. But I mean, you knew it was gonna be a hard fight with just the frontline starter that Oklahoma has. Malachi Witherspoon's pitching a lot better baseball right now and pitched a really good outing again this weekend against 4 runs, but only one of them was earned. It's just fighting, being a dog, honestly, and just doing what they're good at, and then getting back to that in game 2 and game 3, and piecing together quality at bats and timely hitting. And it was a huge series for them. I think a really important one for them. Maybe under the radar, obviously, with the other series around the SEC, but just I think as a whole for Georgia this season, a little under the radar. But great for them to be back home. They play so comfortable there, and a big series win that they picked up.
Leighton Finley, big in game 3. I thought that was key for them.
Going 5 innings, 7 Ks. Yeah,
there's not a team, and maybe there is out there, I'm just not thinking about it, but from the SEC perspective especially, like there's not a team where my opinion changes more of them, whether they are at home or on the road, than Georgia. Like they really are at this point. It feels like a different team at the friendly confines. And I mean, listen, it's hard to win on the road everywhere, and teams are going to be better at home everywhere. But Georgia, a team that is 26-3 on their home field. I mean, Texas is 23-3. Arkansas is 27-3. So essentially they are tied for the best record at home. Georgia's just, and we talked about it, the importance for them, and they're fighting right now, obviously sitting at 12-9 in conference play, still I think with the possibility to get that top 8 national seed. They're going to have a strong finish, obviously, but this is why we talk about it's so important for them, and they need it because they're just, again, they're a different club on the home field. Especially, I thought it was huge going to rebound from the game 1 loss. Again, Kyson Witherspoon was fantastic, but it's hard to hold down this Georgia lineup for 3 games at Foley Field, and that's what you saw, 16 total runs over the next 2 games. So
yeah, Chris, I mean, even like game 2, I think was just a really big, I think it was the most crucial point of the series for Georgia, just because Oklahoma in game 2, they get shut out in the first 4 innings. They're down 6-0 going to the 5th. 2 spot, 3 spot, 2 spot, 2 spot from the 5th to the 8th. And then, you have a guy come in and stop the momentum, like Zach Harrison, just a guy who he pitched in a super regional game last year for Georgia, and just that big moment, that important guy that can come slam a door. And he really did that. And, he's wanted to pitch, obviously, in these big moments, and wanted to pitch in some different roles and environments. And he's done a lot of that. And, guys that are hungry like that can go out there and produce is what coaches want and look for. And, who you want on the mound as a teammate, let alone a coach or a fan. And it's just the maturity out of him to go out there and slam the door shut, I thought was crucial point for this series. And just, a big piece of his season was just doing that in this moment, this weekend. Yeah.
Colton Smith in that game 2 start. Pretty good for them. He was actually pretty good in that game.
It felt like a real gritty series all around for Georgia. Just, not obviously their best baseball. I mean, take away, obviously, the double-digit runs they score, but I think as a whole, not their best baseball, but, you come in here, winning in the SEC is not easy. Obviously they do a lot better at that at winning at home, but it's not easy. I think that's kind of taken for granted. Winning in any way possible is crucial in the SEC, let alone late in the season like this.
Yeah, Harrison, you mentioned, and this will be a theme, obviously, as we talk we've talked about it all season, but the middle of the pack, if you will, in this conference, it's so crazy because I was just doing the math, just counting it up, Harrison. We have 7 teams that are separated by 2 games in the conference.
I literally said this preseason is going to happen. 5th and 12th in the SEC was probably going to be 3 games at most 4.
We've got ranging from Kentucky at 10-11 to Ole Miss at 12-9, and Vandy also 12-9, Bama 12-9, Georgia 12-9. So you think about that. We've got 4 teams that are all 12-9, 2 at 11-10, 1 at 10-11, but 7 teams within 2 games of each other. So the middle of the pack in this conference really beating up on each other. I would put Georgia and Oklahoma both in that category. Maybe upper middle, but still middle. And that was the quality of baseball you got over the weekend. Really, really high quality baseball. And Oklahoma now falling to 11-10 in conference as they're trying to fight for a hosting bid. But bottom line is this: Georgia protecting the home field, taking 2 of 3 at Foley Harrison. The other Thursday through Saturday series, the Alabama Crimson Tide taking care of their business. They sweep Mizzou. Game 1 got dicey. Now, I was watching this. I was like, hey, here we go. Maybe Mizzou breaks through, but 0-30 watch is still on for the Tigers. They now fall to 0-21. Alabama, I believe, has now won, it's either 5 or 6 straight games. So building some momentum, which again, if you want to, it's 5.
LSU
okay.
and Samford.
If you want to build some momentum, playing Mizzou is a good way to do that. So certainly Alabama feeling better about themselves. Not really a ton to discuss here, Harrison. I mean, obviously Alabama flexing their muscles a bit at the home field. And now they will go on the road to take on Vandy this upcoming weekend, which we'll talk about on Thursday. Big series for them. But it's interesting. There's like a new pressure. We talked about Harrison playing Missouri now, where you just don't want to be that team that loses, that becomes their first SEC win. So I'll pose this question for you, Harrison, on the back end of this. The record was set, we've talked about this before, by Vanderbilt, I believe, in 2013 when they went 26-3 in conference play. What is more likely, that Texas breaks the SEC conference win record against a 27, or that Mizzou finishes 0-30?
Chris, that's not even that big of a debate, because I absolutely think it's Missouri going 0-30. And I say that from the fact that, like, we've seen this Missouri team play all season long, and just – I mean, even the midweeks games are stressful for them. We've seen them getting blown out.
They got run ruled by Missouri State literally a week ago. So.
And we've seen them play, HBCUs and struggles as well. Obviously they had their big win, I think, early in the season. Then, I predicted they sweep the midweek. I got that covered for us, obviously. But I think just how hard it is to win that many games in the SEC, let alone, the injuries and just kind of, I feel like, clutch moments that Texas has every single game with someone stepping up in some sort of fashion. But the injuries just make it so much more difficult. They're down still 2024 Big 12 Player of the Year and Golden Spikes preseason watch player with Max Ballou, and then you lose your ace Jared Spencer, Friday night guy who's one of the better aces in the SEC on a Friday night. Just how difficult that is. And I mean, it's one of those things that. And I tweeted out, like, SEC teams to start 16-2 or better since 1996, because that's when the 30-game SEC schedule began. So Vanderbilt 2013 was 16-2 they started. 2022 Tennessee was 17-1. 2025 Texas is 19-2, Chris. I mean, it's possible, but I mean, it's so much more likely in my eyes that Mizzou goes 0-30 than Texas breaks that record, just because I think of how, much of a gauntlet the SEC is week after week. And, I'm not saying their schedule is super hard by any means, but it's the SEC, and they got to play at Arkansas this upcoming week, Chris.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough finish of the season for Texas. We'll talk more about it. I don't know if I can ever pick against Texas again, though, as wrong as I've been on them. But, no, I do agree with you. I think 0-30 is more likely, just because still, the run that they would have to go on to close the season, we know what Missouri is too. So, yeah, I would agree. I think 0-30 is more likely. Again, Bama using the weekend to build some confidence, build some momentum. We talk about those middle of the pack teams. Alabama 12-9 in conference play. They are right there on the hosting bubble, if you will.
Well, I do want to touch on the Bama series for a second. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's one of those things. It felt like Bama kind of sleptwalk into the series to start. I know the errors, and just how the first inning went underway with, giving up a 5 spot. I know, only 2 of them were earned, but still, I mean, Missouri is one of those teams that, like, is going to kind of give you some trouble at some point in the game, every game, it feels like. Obviously that doesn't always happen. That's just kind of what it feels like, with them. And they're not afraid to swing it. They swung it, against really good pitchers. We saw the Ole Miss series in Como and how that went, and Missouri giving them a run for their money and, putting up almost double-digit runs, I believe. And, applying the pressure. And like you said, I think there is a pressure applied to teams playing Missouri, kind of the last 2 or 3 weeks and through the rest of the season, of not wanting to be that first team that loses to Missouri. I think that's definitely a real thing. And, getting in a hole like Alabama did, and then kind of clawing away and fighting back, 2 in the second, 3 in the sixth, 2 in the eighth, just responding, and doing it different ways off, just Hodo homer, and Staten homer, and Mizell homer. But like just the way that first thing unfolded was just kind of like bite your tongue and just like you're really frustrated about it. Obviously, as an Alabama fan, but to respond in kind of the way they did and take care of business throughout the rest of the series. I was really, I don't want to say impressed with, but I was glad to see. And it was something that Riley Quick had another great outing, which I think he needed. And this was a spot in which he could do that. And Braylon Myers out of the bullpen to close it, Chris, the last 3 innings, absolutely shoved. I mean, shoved. It was almost unhittable. He had the 1 run and 1 hit and 6 Ks, but really good to see that of them. And this is, like I said, it's a spot where you can't lose to Missouri. You almost can't lose to Missouri, but it's a spot where you have to get guys like in situations when they're, this is a bounce back opportunity for them. This is a build off a really good opportunity, builds more confidence. And no one, I don't think he did any better than that than Zane Adams, going 7 innings. I mean, obviously they run rule, but 5 hits, 1 earned, 5 Ks. I thought he looked really sharp and just, it was a really good spot for him to compound off of some success he's had this season and move forward with it as they play Vanderbilt next week.
Yeah, that was a start he needed.
Yep.
I am fascinated now. Once again, the conversation will turn back to what does Alabama do with the pitching staff? Do they keep Faye in game 1? Do you put Adams back in game 1? Does Quick move? Now you're back to a Friday through Sunday series instead of these back-to-back Thursday through Saturday. I am very, very interested what they do with very interested. So that will be a decision for Rob Vaughn, his pitching coach, to make. But the bottom line is this. Alabama gets the big sweep over MIZ. And 0-30 watch for the Tigers is still officially on. Harrison, let's go to the weekend, Friday through Sunday series. And, of course, we got to start with where I was over the weekend. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You guys see the lid. Appreciate all those down in BR. I spent a lot of time, by the way, on our show that'll drop with Blake Ruffino tonight, to your point, talking with him, decompressing about the Baton Rouge weekend. So many things. I mean, certainly the games, obviously, the atmosphere, but the tailgating, the what we did, with Mikey Matuk and Jared Mitchell, to the places we ate, what we drank, everything. It was the full Baton Rouge experience. Got crawfish, had pastelaya. I mean, you name it. It was. I think I'm an honorary couillon at this point. And by the way, Harrison, with my record down in Louisiana, last year I go to the football game. They beat Ole Miss in overtime.
In a wild game.
This year, in a wild game, and then this year I go to the series and LSU wins via 2 walk-offs. Both wins come via walk-off.
One better than the other for sure.
One better than the other, but still both walk-offs. One a run rule, one an end of game. There's so much from this series, and I'll try to be as concise as possible, Harrison, because I could spend quite a while discussing this. That Friday night game, that finish was one of the wackiest finishes I've ever seen. An LSU lineup that had been dead to that point and dominated by Liam Doyle, who was fantastic. And, I mean, Tennessee has their dude in there in Nate Snead. And we talked about it last week. Put the baseball in play, put pressure on Tennessee. They haven't been great defensively. You get the inning going, you put it in play. I thought they should have given the first guy a hit, bouncing ball. I think he beats it anyways. You hit a hard hit ball at Dean Curley. He boots it. Then you got action. The at-bat of the game, I know Bear Jones had the big homer, but the Dalton Beck kid coming up who had 7 ABs all season.
Yeah, that was the 7th AB he came in.
Second at-bat in SEC play. And he was the first guy all night to barrel it up. First guy all night, shoots one at the middle, really gets things rolling. Then the legend of Derek Curiel, which I'm sure we're going to spend a lot of time talking about. He gets a big knot to tie it and allow Bear Jones to come up, and obviously the rest is history. A ball that I still don't think Harrison has landed yet. We can discuss games 2 and 3 as well, but when you look back, I know it came down to a rubber match, but realistically, Tennessee lost that series on Friday night. You cannot be up 3-0 after your ace just went out there and spun a gem. You cannot lose that ball game, especially at a place, Harrison, like Alex Box Stadium, and expect to win that series. Like the margins are so thin. You already know that going in. They're razor thin. You cannot lose that baseball game. You did. Now, I give Tennessee, Harrison, a lot of credit. The way they responded on Saturday, because I was like, this is going to go one of 2 ways. Either Tennessee's going to show why they are a championship caliber program and they're going to respond the right way, or they're going to get their teeth kicked in because they're still moping over last night. Obviously, that does not happen in front of a record-setting crowd, by the way. A great crowd. Marcus Phillips goes out and shoves. Tennessee, again, responds like you would expect them to respond, and they get the big win in that one. And then Case and Evans. I mean, dude, the young nucleus of this LSU team and this LSU program right now, the freshmen are just – it's arguably the best freshman class in the country. I know we've talked about Tennessee, but, man, what LSU's young guys are doing. Case and Evans just absolutely dealing on Sunday. The bats finally come alive. I thought the approaches got a lot better on Sunday from LSU. It was a lot more just productive at bats, putting the baseball in play, barreling up the baseball. And Harrison, let's also call it for what it is from the Tennessee perspective. Tennessee's got a Game 3 problem. Like, they've got a Sunday problem. Like, they don't know who they have no clue who their guy is. They throw A.J. Russ out there. He gets touched up. Tegan Coons he's getting touched up every single outing. They got some issues. I'm not saying that it's going to linger throughout, whatever. They got some shit they got to figure out before we get to postseason play because they've got real Game 3 problems. They got two bona fide studs in 1-2. But Game 3, it's a free-for-all, and the biggest difference in that series going to Game 3, LSU had a Case and Evans to hand the baseball to, and Tennessee simply did not. So, anyways, I know I threw a lot at you, but one hell of a series. The atmosphere was awesome. It was what we expected. We felt like it was going to come down to a rematch. Two great teams. You mentioned it last week, Harrison. I will not be surprised if these two teams see each other, not only in the postseason, but maybe even in Omaha. Like, these are two high caliber. I thought Tennessee dropping outside of the top 10, by the way, absolute lunacy. If LSU's the number 2 team in the country, Tennessee was 3 outs away from beating them at their place. You're telling me they're not a top 10
2 outs away
team?
We'll get to that towards the end.
Right. So, anyways, it was pure cinema, though. Great series. Harrison, you called it when you said, listen, if that series is in Knoxville, LSU probably doesn't hit a walk-off. Tennessee probably takes 2 or 3. Just two great teams battling out, man. And, the weekend was just incredible.
Yeah, one of the best series, I think, Game 1 and Game 2 of the season of, recent memory. It's a little bit of recency bias, but I think just kind of how the games went. You got just pitching duels from studs on both sides in Game 1 and Game 2. And then you got a little bit of flair in the offense late in the game from, both games. In the walk-off fashion that it was for LSU in Game 1. You can't ask for more in a game, I don't think, than that. And I said that going in. I said, you're going to get some really good pitching performance. This is a series that if you like college baseball or want to get into college baseball, watch this series because you're going to see best on best future MLB players pitching and hitting in this game. You're going to get some studs on the mound dealing, and then you're going to get some late offense. And that's exactly what we got. And then the late dramatics too as well. But I think the biggest thing for me, Chris, was it was definitely that Game 1 at the end of the 9th inning where, you said Nate Snead coming in and not getting the job done. He gave us 6 runs. None of them were earned because of those 2 plays, those 2 tough plays, I will say. The first one, I think, more so tough than the second to third base. And I don't agree with you on the fact that that play would have been a hit. I think, yes, he didn't play great, but then he double clutches and then throws it high. I think if he still double clutches and throws it across, I think he's still out. It's a bang bang though, but he double clutches.
Maybe that's how I've been hanging out with LSU people all weekend because listen, Mikey Matug was convinced it was a hit, but yeah, it would have been bang bang. I agree, but I will say LSU finally started hitting the baseball hard. That was the difference. They put pressure on Dean Curley and it paid off.
Honestly, both teams because Cade Anderson gives up 2 and has 11 punchies in just over 7 innings, and Liam Doyle puts up a 0 spot for 6 2/3 after 1 hit ball against this LSU team that just finds a way to hit the ball and barrels the ball. It feels like every single inning. You can't ask for more out of either one of them. I don't think. Zach Cowan came in, did his job, and then you have Jacob Myers come in and close the door enough. But just something clicked, I think, for LSU that their mindset going in, they're never out of the game. They were never out of it. Obviously, they knew they were one swing away, one play away from, something happening. And then, you're a dying quail over first base. You're a bloop single. You're an infield single. You're, a swinging bunt away from, putting pressure on teams. And that's what, you have to do. And like you said, with Tennessee having some, defensive errors, obviously just struggles throughout the season. I think, LSU just capitalized on that and playing at home in that environment. Alex Box over 13,000, Chris. There was just under 13,000 in Game 1, a record for Alex Box in program history at LSU of 13,376 in Game 2, which is ironically only the 22nd largest on-campus attendance in college baseball. Somehow, I will say the top, I think 20 are all from Mississippi State. But nevertheless, I felt like I could feel it watching it, Chris. I mean, that game it started at 10 p.m., right? Central time. And it ended at what, 1:45 Central time? I mean, I couldn't imagine people that don't like baseball in Baton Rouge Union Stadium just having to hear what sounds like an earthquake out of Alex Fox.
Harrison, Friday night had big Hoover vibes.
Oh, Hoover.
Dude, we were obviously out at the tailgate. I'm like, God, this is just getting us ready for the SEC tournament.
Yeah, well, I mean, it felt like Omaha too. We had that rain delay too. We were sitting in the press box.
That was honestly, people ask me what my favorite part of the weekend was. And there were many. It's hard to pick one. But like that rain delay was a blast. I mean, we had a blast because we're sitting there like, are they going to play? Are they not? We're like, well, we're going to party just in case. And sure enough, 9:50, they wanted to make sure. I'm so glad because a doubleheader would have just, doubleheader.
And doubleheaders are weird too.
Yeah, they're not. It's like let's get this game in. So that was. No, that was a blast. That was
Chris, just for Beck to come up in that situation, having 6 ABs and coming up and singling 2 RBIs. I mean, Jay Johnson pitching, pushing all the right buttons, knowing his squad better than anyone does.
Yeah, the whole fire Jay Johnson thing. I think we can.
And people, Chris, are probably thinking during that. I mean, you were there. Were people thinking like, why are we putting in Beck in this situation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what is like? There's no way we should. And he goes up there, proves Jay Johnson right. Improves himself right and gets 2 RBIs in the most clutch AB for him of his probably college career and probably high school career too. And and then Curiel, just the series that he had as a whole. I mean, but let alone in that game 1 9th inning AB and Jared Jones, just a no doubt nuke, Chris, 452 foot over the batter's eye. And
dude, I think it went 500 feet. I really do.
I mean, it's what 402 to center. I mean, but that ball
it clears the batter's eye.
No doubt. He didn't even move. He watched it. And the umpire's like, get going, and he's just like puts the bat down slowly and just starts walking. And then after it, Chris, I don't know if you saw just how crazy everything was. They're celebrating at home, and he goes over the LSU team kind of just gravitates towards the Tennessee dugout. And Bear Jones looked like he had some words for Tennessee's dugout for sure. And I mean, I think you got to love that. I mean, I think the umpires handled it well. They were over there kind of pushing him back and like all prepared for that, but handled it perfectly well. I think that it was great for college baseball and just that series and to set the tone for this, the rest of the series. But Chris, game 1, I mean, Tennessee lost that series because of game 1, but they also left 10 guys on base in game 1. They left 12 on base in game 2, and they left 5 on base in game 3. I mean, that is what's going to be the difference in games like this against elite caliber SEC teams is doing that. And I'm not saying LSU didn't because they left 6 on in game 1, 6 on in game 2, and 8 on in game 3. But obviously they didn't leave as many, but they had the clutch hits when they needed them. And that was one of the biggest differences, I think. But game 2, I mean, it was just like, you're like, all right, how does Tennessee respond, right? How does Tennessee respond? How does LSU kind of calm the nerves and lock back in after the exhilarating game that game 1 was? Luckily, it was a night game for game 2 as well. Yeah. I mean, it was just me. Because imagine if that's like a 4:00 game.
Yeah,
it's a quick turn. Everything, like you never know what can happen. But I mean, just I think the way that you respond with Marcus Phillips, it's gonna be another battle on the mound with him and Anthony Einson. And Einson, I think his outing, gets overshadowed. I think a bit because of how important Marcus Phillips was for Tennessee in that game. Even though like the stat line doesn't look beautiful, it's really good, and he looked really good. And Dylan Lloyd comes in and slams the door 2 and a third, 1 hit, 1 run. And I mean, I thought Einson was in a spot in which he's going against Marcus Phillips in a must-win backs against the wall game for Tennessee after how they lost game 1, and I thought he went up there and did a fantastic job. I mean, scattering 6 hits, only allowing 2 to this Tennessee lineup that I don't think anyone can take granted. If you go 5 innings or more and allow less than 3 or less runs to this Tennessee team, that is incredible. Let alone 8 punch outs. I mean, his curveball was just on from the jump, and then just how they pieced together. I think the bullpen after that, it was just mix and match, max, 1 out, 1 inning for Shores, just Fontenot closing out with 1 in the 3rd. I mean, it was so well done. And like the strategy was so well executed from Jay Johnson and his coaching staff that, yeah, you lose the game, but I thought it was really good how they kind of pieced together other than, Chase Shores giving up the 4 runs, even though only 1 of them was earned. So I think that you got to keep that in mind, and just Tennessee had to have that. Obviously, it forced that game 3 because anything can happen in a game 3, Chris. But I mean, you said it, Kassan Evans stepping up in a situation in which his team needed him most, just being ready for that. And I've been big on Chase Shorts. He's had his struggles lately. I think he's super talented. I think he's going to be a big name in the SEC for his, collegiate career. But Kassan Evans stepping up in, the biggest game of the year, maybe for LSU outside of, you could argue, Texas as well, that game 3. But to go out there and do what he did, 2 runs, 6 innings against this Tennessee team and not even walking you guys. I was super impressed. He looked so polished and ready for the moment. That is one of the biggest things I took away from that was just how composed he was. And it felt like just, locked in, and Zach Cowan coming in after him and following suit. He said, "Hey, I got you. Like, I'm going to do the exact same thing." And he did. But the Sunday struggles, I think, for Tennessee's pitching staff, they have so many talented guys. It's just, I think the role kind of play right now with Tegan Kuhn's having his struggles. I was hoping to bring Tegan Kuhn's out right after AJ Russell, maybe like a long open for AJ Russell. But obviously he didn't have his best stuff. But, Tony Vitello obviously knows his team better than anyone else, and his pitching staff as well with Coach Frank Anderson. But obviously it just didn't work. And then LSU just starting to pile it on late in the game. 1 in the 7th just put pressure on them right there. And then 3 in the 8th to close it out. That's just poise and guts from this LSU team that, we talk about isn't a huge home run hitting team, but has it when it needs to, but just puts pressure on teams constantly. And they play so well at home, like Georgia does as well. Playing the box is going and winning a series at the box is so incredibly hard. And, LSU defends the home turf and wins a massive, massive series. And I think just pushes them momentum wise, Chris, the rest of the way this season, and just know like this is the caliber of which we should be playing every single game. And I talked about it. Remember they lost, coming into the series against Northwestern State? Or Northeast, whatever.
Northwestern State, yeah. Run ruled.
They got run ruled. I think it's the first time they've ever gotten run ruled in a midweek game at home. I said it pre-series. I said this is going to be a turning point for them because of that. They're going to never let that happen again. They're going to come in here ready to play and give Tennessee everything they got and take 2 or 3 at home. And they did just that, and it was very impressive. But I don't think you can take away from how well, even with the miscues, Tennessee played on the road at the box.
Credit to Kasson Evans, too, bouncing back after a little bit of a rocky start in the game. Get with 2 runs, top of the first. LSU did not flinch. And as my friend, again, Mikey Mata said, we were talking about the weather and things warming up. He said, I love when it gets warm in Baton Rouge.
Ball flies when it gets warm.
Shorts get a little shorter. Wind starts blowing out. Ball starts flying a little farther. And you definitely saw that on Sunday. And by the way,
and you out home run Tennessee too, which I don't think
of note, LSU 7 homers over the weekend. Tennessee just 1. So you can imagine the LSU fan base had a field day with that.
Chris, did you see Antigua and Bear go at it on first base?
I did. I think that's a mistake.
Listen, but I don't have any problem.
I love the jawing, but Antigua, bro, you're 5'8" hitting 200, man. Like I think
it was predicated. I think it was predicated on him throwing like kind of, I don't want to say pimping the bat, but like slinging the bat back after he gets hit. It felt like he was getting thrown out all series, and
Oh, dude, Tony benched him in game 3 .
Yeah,
because he was chirping at the fans. So
you got to keep it under control. But I don't have any problem with John, and we've seen it around the SEC. I think this weekend is a lot, but also throughout the season. But not the guy you want to pick a fight with. The guy's name is Bear. He's 6'5", 250.
Yeah,
and you're 5'2", 185.
Kind of reminds me.
Jerry has some words for him coming down the first base line, but wrong guy to pick a fight with.
Kind of reminds me of the Naraki Caglione scuffle we had last year.
Oh yeah,
just pick your fights wisely.
On the road too.
Yeah. I'll say this, Harrison, in closing, because we got a lot of others to discuss. And I don't want to overstate this or feel like I'm being caught as like a prisoner of the moment. But if LSU goes on a run, and let's say they win the national championship, I hope that Dalton Beck moment is not lost from the standpoint of you just got run ruled by Northwestern State. You're down Tennessee in game 1. Like the tension, you could feel it in the building. And the stones of Jay Johnson to turn to that kid, his second SEC at bat, and for the kid to come up clutch in that moment, like I will continue to scream it from the mountaintops. That Dalton Beck at bat was the biggest at bat of the weekend. And if LSU goes on a run and they win a national championship, it is easily one of the biggest at bats of the season for LSU. Like that moment,
that's for sure.
That will be one of those moments that we look back and is like, that was a moment that sparked this team to making a run to winning it all. So
yeah, I mean, doing that at
give
home
Jay
in front of
Johnson
that fan
credit.
base in that moment against Tennessee, Dalton Beck had what could be a season amounting monumental, I mean, over the hump, just kind of momentum at bat for LSU that could lead them to the College World Series again and on the hunt for another, national championship. I would not be surprised, but I mean, obviously the Bear Jones home run to end it, obviously I think overshadows a little bit from a national standpoint, but you got to give him his
But the
flowers.
Bear Jones moment doesn't happen more than likely without that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
but
definitely.
it's those moments. Yeah, you're right.
Dalton Beck, give him his flowers. I mean,
it's
poised.
Those moments that culminate into what we could see down the road.
Yeah, I mean, poised. I mean, Chris, talk about guys stepping up in situations. I mean, Texas A&M, the team that constantly
I feel like there's a lot of folks tuned in right now. They think we're spending all this time on LSU Tennessee because we're trying to duck this next series we're about to talk about. But like you mentioned, Harrison, Texas sweeps the Aggies with 3 straight one-run victories. And, man, this season that Texas has put together, 19-2 in conference play. Listen, I'm here to eat my crow. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. Every time I've picked against Texas this season, I have been just so incredibly wrong. So, listen, I had some people reach out to me via DM. They're like, man, you should take a selfie and of you throwing the horns and throw it on social media. I'm like, I'm not going to go that far, but I will give you one here today. Here's a hook 'em for you, okay? Here's a hook 'em for you.
I'm on screen grab it.
I was wrong.
With an LSU hat on.
I was wrong. Yeah, weird enough. But I was dead wrong. That's for the Texas folks. I was dead wrong. I'm happily eating my crow. I went bold with a pick. The script was indeed written, but it was written for the Longhorns to sweep that ass, and Jim Schlossnagle beat his old team. I mean, Harrison, they just keep doing it. No Jared Spencer, no biggie. Somebody else will step up and fill in. I mean, I guess the question will be moving forward, have I learned my lesson? Have I learned my lesson with Texas? Because I've picked against them 3 times now in series, and all 3, obviously, they have won. So, dude, thoughts on this one? I mean, it was great baseball. They were great games. But Texas at home just finding a way like they've been doing all season.
Chris, this is the first time I picked against Texas, I think, this season. So people take that with a grain of salt. It felt like that moment when, injuries are mounting. You got the hottest team in college baseball, I believe, coming in. Just kind of it felt like a little bit like this is that moment that, A&M kind of gets over the hump and beats Texas, but then Texas goes on a great postseason run and A&M doesn't. It felt like that kind of storyline situation for me from a health standpoint too. But, I mean, I said it in our predictions. I said, I would not be surprised if Texas wins this series at all. It would not surprise me winning at home, the way they're playing. Someone always stepped up and finding a way, and they did just that, Chris. Someone stepped up and found a way in every game. I mean, I'm giving game 1 stepping up award for Texas, Tommy Farmer the 4th. I mean, your first home run of the season against your rival in game 1, that was the difference maker. I mean, late in the game, I don't know how much bigger of a situation you can get than that. Obviously, I think Dalton Beck's maybe is a little bit bigger, but I mean, talk about just timely hitting and just stepping up clutch when your team needs you most. After you move a guy from the bullpen to a Sunday role, he picks it up and transitions super well in Ruger Rojas, and then you move him from Sunday to Friday night. Friday night, replacing your ace who's hurt, he's injured, he's out, and he goes out and deals 5 2/3, 5 hits, no runs. Only 3 strikeouts, no walks, but he let his defense play for him. I mean, he did everything he needed to do. The Arm Farm in Austin, Texas, I will say it as much as I need to. The Arm Farm in Texas, Chris, is the real deal. It's legit. It doesn't matter who he puts in. It doesn't matter. They get the job done. And in the words of Max Wiener, dominate the damn zone. That's what they do. And that's what they did all game 1, and it felt like all series. I mean, Max Grubb's coming in, doing what he does best and coming in out of the bullpen, just being a stopper. He gives up 1 unearned, but outside of that, just 1 hit. But Chris, Dylan Valancis, I've been saying it. I've been preaching it all season.
Didn't he pitch in all 3 games?
I don't think he pitched in game 3, did he? He did not pitch in game 3.
Okay, maybe he didn't in 3. Okay.
He was on the mic in game 3. I think that's for sure. But no, just like I've been high on him so much this season. in just how poised he is, Chris, as polished,
he's
poised,
not a freshman at this point.
confident.
Like he's not a freshman at this
Experience-wise, Chris, he is a junior.
Right.
It feels like he is a junior
and
midway
he carries himself that way.
And he does. I mean, the kid's, 18 years old? He's pitching like a junior in college. Like this is his third trip in the SEC. And I mean, he's got 10 saves, Chris. That's more than double anyone else in the SEC. There's like 4 or 5 guys, I think, in college baseball that are tied at 5.
By the way, Harrison, real quick, it was Max Grubbs that went 3 straight games.
Max Grubbs did, yep.
3 straight games. I mean, nails.
Yeah. I mean, because he came in and closed game 3 to get his 5th save. I mean, think about it, Chris. They have 15 saves between 2 guys. I mean, Dylan Valencia's got, number 11 in game 2. I mean, It's crazy. I mean, he only used 8 pitches too. I mean, it's just after going 40 pitches in game 1, he goes 8 pitches in game 2. He's like, I'm ready. You need me? Call me. I'm in the bullpen. Like that's literally his mindset. Like, I'm ready to go. And, they know their weapons, their bullets, their arms, their rockets in the bullpen. And it's always been this season, Max Grubbs, Dylan Valencia, and Thomas Burns. And I thought Thomas Burns looked really good too, even though, the stat line doesn't really follow that exactly. But Luke Harrison, just the start that he gave them. And Chris, I mean, talk about starts. Texas A&M, what more can you ask from them out of the starting pitching? I mean, Ryan Prager, one of, I think, his better starts, even with a low strikeout number of 3 strikeouts, 5 2/3, 6 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 3 Ks. And then you have game 2.
I called the Prager legacy game. It just
didn't finish. Game 2, Justin Lampkin goes 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 8 Ks, 2 walks. And then game 3, Miles Patton goes 5 2/3, 6 hits, 3 earned, 5 Ks, 2 walks. Like, you can't ask for more against this Texas lineup out of your starting pitching. It's just the offensive lack of production that let them down, because Texas's bullpen and starters just did such a good job of keeping them off balance, making them swing at their pitches and expanding the zone and getting themselves out, making the Texas A&M lineup get themselves out. I mean, it was incredible to see it, because we didn't know which way it was going to go. Whether is this hot A&M lineup going to keep scorching pitchers and just barreling baseballs and, putting pressure on teams, or was Texas going to come down to their home turf yet again at Dish Falk and just slam the door and say, hey, that ain't happening here? I mean, we saw it happen at Tennessee. We saw it happen at Arkansas. Buddy, y'all had another thing coming. I mean, it was so fascinating to see that. And just, I mean, like I said, pre-series, we talked about it. We had 2 series this week, Chris, and I said it, about how if you want to watch the best college baseball, you want to watch and get into college baseball, this is a series in which you can watch with the numerous amounts of storylines, the numerous amounts of future MLB talent, and just the pedigree of just how these guys are playing, the seasons that have been shaping up, let alone the head coaching situation. I mean, you couldn't have really got more than they got, than we saw, except for if, you got a couple walk-offs or whatnot. But I mean,
the series delivered. It did.
Series delivered, Chris.
It delivered. Maybe not from maybe if we had like a rubber match Sunday, but the quality of baseball delivered, no doubt.
Yeah. And Chris, I mean, it was so fascinating to see how it delivered, because like I said, it was always a different guy. It felt like for Texas. I mean, Ethan Mendoza out of the leadoff spot, DHing 3 hits, 2 RBIs. And then game 3, Mendoza has, an RBI, but it's Rylan Galvan and Adrian Rodriguez, who
A-Rod was huge in that
big
game.
moments.
How about the defense we saw all weekend?
I was about to say, Chris, the defense, you want to talk about a web gym? You want to talk about a defensive clinic? We saw it on both sides.
That Sorrell
Texas
catch
and
was
Texas
wild.
The Sorrell catch, the Terrence Keel, the 3rd catch, the Jay Slavolette catch.
A-Rod catch.
The A-Rod catch. I mean, let me throw this out there, Chris. Ruger Rojas, swinging bunt in front of the home, gets it like a shortstop and throws it across. No biggie. Pitchers are athletes too. That was one of the most underrated plays, I think, of the series. Just so smooth. And it was like this kid had to have grown up playing shortstop. I mean, it was just like, it was such a phenomenal play that I feel like got overlooked, because it's like, oh, of course, like that was just, I mean, it was an all around clinic. I think that just delivered as a series as a whole. That, I mean, obviously A&M fans are pissed that they got swept, let alone lost the series. But I mean, it was such a great series for college baseball. I think that, I mean, it's going to propel Texas to continue to play in the which that they're playing, which no matter what, like next man up, find a way, whatever it takes. That's kind of feels like their mindset. Obviously, they're proving that. I mean, 3 one-run ball games, Chris.
Yeah, I want to pose that to you, and I want you to tell me, Harrison, if this is a hater take. Okay, just so brace yourself, and that's totally fine. But I'm simply posing the question: does it worry you that? Because here's my thing: this is baseball. I don't care how many games you play, you are going to get cold. So I think like my only concern with Texas at this point is that they're going to get to the end of the season having not been cold. You'd rather be cold at the end of April than the end of May, because if you get cold at the end of May, your season's over.
But getting cold at the end of April, you know how cold it is to turn that
is
around
that
in
a
a
valid
month?
concern? Is that a valid concern?
I guess from a national standpoint, yes, but as a clubhouse and a squad,
I'm not saying for
no.
them internally. I'm saying for us that just like talk about it. I just like
It's
you're just
a
because
valid opinion.
you're asking. I'm asking myself. Okay, I had egg on my face. I'm totally fine. Like we would love nothing more than to see Texas and Omaha. I want to make that very clear. I am just
Here we go, Texas homer, Chris.
See, I can't win either way. I'm expressing concern from the Texas perspective that it's like, dude, how long can you just keep winning one-run games? How long can you keep depending, Harrison, on the same 5 arms? Like, are they going to be able to do this through June? That's the only thing where I'm like, again, when you're hot, but everybody gets cold. And I'm not saying like you got to hope that the team loses and goes cold. I'm not saying that, but that's what makes it so fascinating what they've done. I mean, and that's why I picked A&M. It's like, dude, now you're without your ace. Now, and you're without Big 12 Player of the Year, Max Ballou. Like, give them credit. I mean, the way they keep on keeping on, that's my only concern if I'm a Texas fan, is like, can we keep this going through the next 2 months? That's the big question for them.
Big question for me
I probably sound like a hater. I promise I'm not trying to be. That is my question with Texas, though.
The big question for me is obviously, losing Max Ballou in the lineup that he is, but like people are stepping around him. But it's like, how can that happen every single game? Like it has been, as postseason comes on and the teams that you're playing only, the games get tougher and tighter and harder, and each at bat and pitch means more.
And I not to cut you off, I will say this though, because somebody in the comments, I will give Texas this credit. Even when Texas has not been red hot this year, they have found ways to win. I will give you that. They just haven't lost when they've gone cold this season, but it's still just, I don't know. It's still something I think about. It's like, man, because Harrison, in baseball, like, hey, when you're hot, you're winning all those one-run games. And when you're not, it's like you're losing all those one-run games. So I kind of just wonder, like, man, listen, it is wildly impressive. Max Wiener is a god amongst men when it comes to pitchers. He is a god amongst men. No, he is not mortal when it comes to coaching pitchers. I mean, it's insane. I thought if they were middle of the pack in ERA, that'd be a great year. And they're you could argue the best pitching staff in the conference. It's nuts.
I mean, most clutch check. I think you could obviously argue that too. But Chris, like for me, when you say that about the rest of the season, can they keep doing this? Like you lose reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, preseason Golden Spikes watch list in Max Ballou. You lose your Friday night guy in Jared Spencer. Someone continues to step up every single game in some way on both sides of the ball, and I mean it's so fascinating to see. And just they are built for the moment. Texas is built for the moment, the way that they have someone step up, no matter what, no matter who it is in these games, all these one-run games, Chris. I would love to see how many, I'll go back and look if I can find it, how many one-run games that they have won and how many of their wins have, in SEC play have been in one-run games. Because it feels like 1, if not 2 run games have been the majority. And just that's that clutch moment. That's what's going to get you over the hump. That's what gets teams to Omaha and with a chance to win a national championship. And Texas has that, and they're built different. And it's just crazy to see. And, talk about being built different, Chris. You look at game 3. Guess who stepped up in that? Wasn't Jason Flores starting game 3. It was Andre Duplantier the second, going 5 2/3, 3 earned. I mean, he only 1 strikeout, but like he was effective. He's effective in the bullpen around. They pieced it. They were so smart, obviously, and how they executed that strategy. And it's just one of those moments where I don't think that they're going to cool off in a sense of like get cold. They could cool off, maybe they drop a 1-run game, here or there. But this team, it just feels like I said, built for the moment. in that this pedigree of winning these one-run games. They play so well at home. Obviously, you can argue that a lot of their big series, most of their big series are at home, which helps. But like, win anyway. It doesn't matter what your schedule is. Win anyway, and they play so good in front of that crowd. They feed off it. They love playing at home. Like, obviously, most
and they'll be at home all postseason too.
And they'll be at home. They'll be at home all postseason. Regional, super regional.
Hey, by the way,
Chris, it might feel like a home game in Omaha with how many Texas fans are going to be there.
Before I forget, because I just did the math, I just calculated it. If my math serves correct, Texas is 10-2 in one-run games this season. They are 8-1
under 3 losses.
They are 8-1 in one-run games in SEC play. The irony of this stat: their first game of the season was a one-run loss. So,
and extras to Louisville.
Since then,
they blow out Ole Miss 10-0. But
they are 10-2 in one-run games, 8-1 in SEC one-run games. I mean, that's
the thing for me Chris to watch out is, or to keep an eye on is, the depth. And I've talked to sources really close to Texas about just like the depth of, the pitching staff's going to get tested because, like you said, it feels like it's the same 4 guys out of the paint, same 4 horses. Max Grubbs, Dylan Valancis, who else? Thomas Burns and Duplantier at the second. I mean, obviously you have Ethan Walker and Grayson Saunier, but like it feels like those same horses. Like the number of innings that they have on them, it's like they're so good that it feels like they don't have to be as deep. But like at some point, is that going to catch up to them and when and how? So that's the one thing for me to continue to monitor. I've continued to monitor that past few weeks, but the rest of the season into the postseason.
Harrison, in closing, thoughts on A&M? How does this change the outlook? Is this still a team that you think of as a postseason contender? Because I'm torn on it. Because on one hand, this is what I think makes they showed, I think, over the weekend what makes them so tough. They got 3 horses they can roll out there. Like you put this team in a regional as a 2 or 3, brother, you are getting 3 studs in the regional. On the flip side, though, and they've won 3 of the last 4 series, but I don't know if it's a sure thing. Dude, I mean, it's like a must-win this weekend against LSU. We'll talk about it Thursday. They got LSU at home. I believe they have Mizzou still.
So, Chris, they play LSU at home.
3 wins, and then
Missouri
at Georgia.
At home.
And then they play at Georgia. But they got to go to Georgia. So, dude, I don't think A&M postseason is a sure thing.
I mean, Chris, they're 8-13 in conference. I think you have to win 1 versus LSU at least.
Got to sweep Mizzou.
Sweep Missouri, so that's 4. It's
12 and just win one against
Georgia.
And I think
you got to win. I think you have to win 1.
In Hoover?
I think honestly you have to win 2 in the tournament
to feel good about it. At least to feel good about it.
And honestly, that's absolutely doable with the horses they have in their frontline starters and just the talent they have in the lineup. I mean, I think like you asked. I mean, what is my thoughts on A&M of the series as a whole? I thought I think they left too many runners on base, but I think they played very well overall. I know that's not going to sound great for A&M fans, losing the series, let alone getting sweep, but you leave 9 guys on in game 1, you leave 8 guys on in game 2, and you leave 10 guys on in game 3. That was the difference in the series. It was the Texas pitching staff doing that. But the talent they have in the lineup, obviously, and how well they're playing as a whole the last 4 weeks, it's there. He just ran into a buzzsaw in Texas. I mean, it was just they got slammed the door in their face in this series, but they're so talented. And, Caden Sorrell, I thought he had a hell of a series. I mean, honestly, I don't think, the stat book's going to show that because game 2 went 0-4, but just he felt so important to the series, keeping it close with just the plays on offense he had and the defensive gems he had as well. I mean, he's just so uber talented and just came out the gates hot coming back from injury. And he's so fun to watch, Chris, but I don't think it's really dampered, the postseason hopes as much as A&M fans think because you don't win a game. But you got to, like you said, you got to go win one at LSU. You got to win one versus LSU, 1 at Georgia. You got to sweep Missouri, and you got to win 2 in the tournament to get in. And then if they get in the tournament, Chris, you want to talk about last 4 in, for last 1 out? It's gonna be like it could happen. It could absolutely happen. Texas A&M could make the NCAA tournament, finish the season strong, hot, going in healthy with the horses they have in the stable. And postseason, it's a 0-0 record. Nobody cares. And the 3 horses they got in the stable of Friday, Saturday, Sunday wouldn't surprise me if they made it to Omaha.
And Yeah, and and we're only a few short weeks away from this, but that when the bracket drops, if A&M does that and they do what they need to do, I would imagine they're going to be pitting this to where we could potentially see Texas and Texas A&M in Omaha. They will not set them up against each other. I think they would love.
They did last year.
Well, that was different because they were Big 12. But anyways, it's A&M's got to get there first.
I think they can. I still think they can.
I have my doubts. They can. Tough.
You just can't leave runners on base. I said same thing Tennessee did. Yeah. They left way too many runners on base, and that was the difference in the series.
Yeah, tough to get swept there. All right, guys, we got 4 more series to talk about. Before we do, I want to tell you about our friends over at Melon Hats, because we're brought to you by our friends at Melon Hats. You see the lids, guys. And again, Harrison, I promise yours are in the mail.
Still waiting.
I know, they're still waiting. But again, you see the hats. These have become, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, they have become my favorite hats, some of my favorite hats to wear, whether I'm on the golf course, at the gym, hanging out around the house, at the beach, whatever it is. These hats, love them for the durability, their comfort, their fit, their sizing. Guys, also, they have cool weather and warm weather hats, the Hydra collection and the Thermal collection. If you're looking for a hat as tough as you, check out Melon. You will not wear anything else. And, guys, take it from us. Huge hat guys. You should listen to us when it comes to hats. Make sure you go to melon.com. That's melin.com. Put it to the test yourself. Once again, melon.com. melin.com, and get yours today. And make sure you tell them Chris Phillips and Harrison fan from the Windup sent you. Harrison, let's keep it moving. The Florida Gators, speaking of a team that ain't dead yet, the Gators take 2 of 3 from Arkansas. One thing I want to start with, good news on Colby Shelton. Sounds like, talking to them down there, he will be ready for the series this weekend in Columbia against South Carolina. Did get hurt in that game Saturday. Did not play Sunday. They beat Arkansas in a rematch on Sunday without Colby Shelton. They're moving Brendan Lawson to third base and moving guys around. Florida, Harrison, able to come out on top. Arkansas now 3 straight series losses. Man, your thoughts on this one? I mean, we talked about it. Florida absolutely had to have one, but they could use a big shot in the arm, big series dub. They get it, and all of a sudden, Kevin O'Sullivan's club is playing with some real fire and real momentum.
Yeah, and Chris, the team that you put a fork in and said was cooked, one of the many teams you did that is not cooked again still. Obviously, I think you preheated the oven but forgot to put them in. I think I took that and put it in the other room, put it in the fridge downstairs, something like that. But, I mean, the start that you get in game 1 with Liam Peterson, I think set the tone for the series. I mean, he goes 6 innings, 13 strikeouts. That's more than 2 per inning. I mean, against one of the best lineups in college baseball.
Shut them down.
In Arkansas. To do that at home in a must-win game, series, it feels like, for Florida, backs against the wall. I mean, I think that you have to give so much props to that. I mean, he's had his ups and downs this season, Chris, but he stepped up in this moment when the Florida Gators needed him to do so most. And Jake Clemente coming out at the end to close 2 2/3, shutout ball of 3 Ks. I mean, talk about just that set them up so well for the series, because it felt like after that they're playing with house money a little bit. Like, hey, we took 1, we needed to take at least 1, but let's go for the series. Obviously they didn't do that in game 2. But I mean, you have Luke Heyman, who had that big game 1, just kind of day for him. And then game 2, obviously you get blanked. I mean, talk about a bounce back spot for Arkansas. And it was all predicated on that 5th inning, just implosion of offense they had, single, fly ball, double, homer, RBI. I mean, it just felt like I was really impressed with how Arkansas responded in that game 2. I mean, obviously it was such a tight game until that point, and just limiting the offense for Florida after, they put up 8 runs game 1. Gage Wood, I mean, and Gabe Gackle, bounce back outing for him. He needed that. Gage Wood bounce back outing for him, Chris. We talked about the struggles he's had. I mean, they combined for 6 1/3, 2 hits, 7 Ks. Gackle did have 4 walks, but scattering those and not letting them affect him or, come across the plate. But I mean, we've seen just a bounce back opportunity from them, and they've had this stuff to go compete at the highest level in the SEC, and they proved to do that in this game too. And then you have Aiden Jimenez come and slam the door shut after them. I mean, that was what you had to see from Arkansas in this situation. Just with how the past few weeks, Chris, have been going for them, you had to see them bounce back in this situation, which, hey, we can still win this series on the road at Florida. because winning a series on the road, Chris, is one of the hardest things to do in the SEC. I mean, we've talked how many times it feels like every week of, win the series at home, don't get swept on the road. But for a team that's as talented as Arkansas on both sides of the ball and the struggles they've had of late, they had to go in the mindset with winning this series. And, they set themselves up with a bounce back game in game 2 to do that. But Aiden King having his struggles a little bit more so predicated on errors because 4 of his 5 runs were not earned. That's a whole nother kind of facet that we could dive into. But I mean, just kind of poise, Chris, and just backs against the wall for Florida in game 3. I mean, you give up 5, you're down 5-1 in the second inning, Chris, on just accumulation of, ball and advancing, double here, walk here, just Arkansas taking advantage of kind of some miscues and whatnot. Both teams leaving on almost 10 base runners as a whole for each team this game, which just kind of felt like frustrating, I think, for both sides. But, you got guys step up on the mound. The outings, it was kind of just all hands on deck. Chris, we talk about how in the SEC, I know you're big on this opinion too, that it's just Sundays, unless you have a bona fide stud, which it feels like only 2 or 3 teams really have that. And one of them we haven't talked about yet even. But it just feels like Sundays are just all hands on decks. Best arms. You got to go out there, especially when it's a rubber match, Chris, and do that. And, Florida, after a really, really, really tough Billy Barlow start, just giving up 4 runs in just over an inning, you got the guys in the bullpen coming out of there, especially Jake Clemente, his 5th save of the season, Chris.
He has really transitioned to that bullpen role really well.
He has submitted himself as just the staple in the bullpen. He looks so comfortable.
I think it fits him better. Like when you would watch him start, I don't know. I think the pen does fit him better. I think he's better as a reliever. So
it's just
good move by Sully.
Certain guys are better starters, or certain guys are better, first out the pin guys. Certain guys have that closer mentality. That's, lefty special mentality. Like you have to know that. And like, that's one of the biggest things that we talk about. Non-conference is important for finding out as much as you can who your guys are and what situations, what they thrive in, what they don't thrive in, and get them experience and opportunities so that when you get to April and May, who you're going to immediately, hey, this is the guy I want. It's not even a thought. Right. And I think Jake Clemente was one of the biggest pieces, if not the biggest, for Florida in this series. And the reason why they were able to take 2 and 3 from number 5 Arkansas in a must-win series for Florida at this point, being 8-13 in the SEC. I don't think they're cooked yet, Chris. But I mean, I think they proved a lot that they still have left in the tank doing this against an Arkansas lineup and pitching staff like this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think they're certainly not cooked yet. Getting that series win was massive. Now you've got South Carolina upcoming. I know it's on the road, but still one you feel really confident that you should be able to have success. And, I mean, dude, Luke Heyman's been clutch all year. I love what you said about Jake Clemente. I think that was a great move by them, putting him in the pen. Being able to do it without Colby Shelton on Sunday, massive. And, I will say this too. Derek Curiel, best freshman in the SEC for my money's worth, but Brendan Lawson is right behind him. I mean, one of Bobby.
I'm gonna put someone else up in that. I'm gonna put Birdie Johnson up in that.
Okay, I mean, dude, you could put the kid from Kentucky too. I'm just saying he's one of the best freshmen we have in the conference. Like Brendan Lawson's a dude. Bobby Baseball, I mean, continues to come up clutch. Brody Donay, listen, we shouldn't be surprised because it's Florida. Like, it's just they expect to win. They know the standard. They know the expectation. They obviously didn't live up to it through the first 12 games of conference play. But like we said, Harrison, about a month ago, Florida's just starting slow, so we have to all act surprised when Kevin O'Sullivan and the boys end up back in Omaha and making a deep postseason run. So, I mean, we'll see if that comes to fruition. But, yeah, I mean, I think right now this is a team that looks like that looks like a postseason club to me. And
they've been through the ringer. They've been in this situation. They've been battle tested all season long, like getting the postseason, like I said, with A&M.
And hell, they were battle tested this way last year.
Exactly.
A lot of that team has been through this exact thing.
Yeah. Getting to the postseason for Florida this year, like A&M would be, it's like postseason, throw your records out the window. Anything can happen. Yeah. It's postseason baseball. We're here now. That's all that matters. And, like after you get that 5 spot in the second, you respond to 1 in the second, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th. 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 10th. You just chip away. You scratch and claw. Hey, let's put up a crooked number. They do so. RBI single, double, homer. I mean, it just feels like, hey, let's just get one. Let's scratch and claw. And that's just kind of, it feels like the pedigree of what Florida's season is, just trying to fight and claw back and, stay in that postseason conversation and get to the postseason because that's where anything can happen. We've seen it with Kevin O'Sullivan and his squads. He's made it to what, Omaha? Is it Omaha the postseason more times than he had? He's been to Omaha more times
Omaha,
than he has.
nine Omaha appearances in 17 seasons as head coach.
Yeah. Can never count out Sully and the boys.
Pretty wild. But yeah, listen, gritty, gutsy Series W. And I'll tell you this, Harrison, I think the thing most encouraging for Kevin O'Sullivan, that entire staff, and I think Florida fans, talking to those behind the scenes, I think there was some questioning of like, what's the guts of this team? Like, does this team have the stones to make a run and push through that adversity? I think you learned a lot about your club this weekend because you saw the emotion. Liam Peterson screaming coming off the mound. Colby Shelton's fired up in the dugout. Like, I think you learned a lot about your team in regards to their makeup and their character and their overall toughness. I think you learned a ton, and that's a positive sign for the Gators and a bad sign for everybody else. And on the Arkansas side, by the way, listen, I'll say this. You'd rather be cold end of April than end of May. Like I said before.
It's a quick turn to have, though. It's a really quick turn.
It is 3 straight series losses, and now Arkansas's got to host the best team in the conference in Texas. We'll see if returning home to the Hog Pen can pay off dividends. But I still like this Arkansas team a lot. I do.
I do. And
I still like this team a lot.
I mean, you got to think when their 3 starters are on, they're on, and they have a lineup to back it up and win in multiple facets of ways.
Dude, did you hear what Kevin O'Sullivan said? I mean, he said he believes this is maybe Dave Van Horn's best team.
Yeah, I mean, I would
had
believe
at
it.
Arkansas.
I believe it, and they're struggling
a lot.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the best offensive teams he's had, if not the best, I think.
Yeah.
But I think for Florida to come down, it's going to come down. Their season's going to come down to guys in the pen. I'm going to exclude like big names. I think it's going to come down to like Alex Philpott, Luke McNeely, Jackson Barbie, and just situations like smaller role situations that can make or break them in the postseason or late in the regular season that are going to be important to keep a track of.
No doubt. A fun one down in Gainesville. Gators taking 2 of 3. Sight set on a
Chris,
run.
Last time I was like, think about if Arkansas continues to slide a little bit even, and they end up as a 2 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you look at,
but like,
I mean, sitting at 14-7, they'd really have to fall off a cliff. But
I know, but
it
like,
is wild. It is wild that 3 weeks ago, Arkansas, I believe, they were right there with Texas as like having the best record in the country, and they were number 1 in the country. Since then, 3 straight series losses. So it's crazy how quickly it can turn in college baseball. Harrison, let's go to Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. Ole Miss takes 2 of 3 from the doors. A loud weekend by Mike Bianco's club. Vandy does respond big in the final game. I believe they won that game 13-0 in a run rule victory. But like we said, going on the road in the SEC is tough. Ole Miss protecting the home field. Starting pitching, Riley Maddox was. Listen, we talked a lot. It's going to come down to Riley Maddox. What version? He was fantastic. Hunter Elliott was really good, and Ole Miss gets a big series dub.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an important series for both clubs, but I think Ole Miss more so just with Vanderbilt being a very hot team right now and just predicated.
I mean, another Harrison, another middle of the pack. I mean, think about this: Ole Miss and Vanderbilt, both 31-13. Both 12-9 in conference. So, I mean, it's just like. It
shows, I mean, and both of them have a chance to host.
Indeed.
And they're middle of the pack in the SEC right now.
Yes.
I mean, we knew we were going to get I felt like a really strong game and just head-to-head with J.D. Thompson and Hunter Elliott going on the mound for both teams. And, I mean, obviously, Hunter Elliott outpitched him, get up 5 innings, 1 earned, 6 Ks. He did have 5 walks, which was very kind of uncharacteristic, I think, of him. But J.D. Thompson got hit around a bit, even though he did dominate the zone when he was striking guys out with 7 Ks. 5 earned, though, is 4 1/3. But that was just the difference in this game was because we knew we were going to have firepower on the mound from both teams, more so Vanderbilt, I think, and more consistently Vanderbilt than Ole Miss. But the offensive production for Vanderbilt has been just enough recently. But I think Ole Miss coming in the series had a higher upside of offense production, and they proved that this series and this weekend at home. I mean, Judd Udemark, I mean, Hayden Federico, those guys, Luke Hill, I mean, just moments in when they needed to, have clutch at bats. Game 2, 6 in the 4th. I mean, you think about it, like you had guys in the bottom of the lineup producing. Ryan Moorman, I mean, Austin Farley just producing in the bottom of the lineup is something that we don't get from Vanderbilt. We don't really see much from Vanderbilt wise. And why I think Vanderbilt's more in the middle of the pack, because their pitching staff, Chris, they're I think upper middle of the pack, bottom of the top tier SEC programs if they have better offense production numbers. I don't think that's that big of a debate. I don't think it's a hot take at all. I mean, we'll have to go back and look at it and see. I mean, let's see if I can pull. I think I have it right here. What do you think Vanderbilt's batting average is ranked in the SEC right now?
14th.
Chris, they're dead last.
Behind Mizzou.
271. Missouri's 12th, 272 or 276. Wow. I mean, isn't that crazy though?
And they're as good as they are with that batting average.
And they're going to host.
Yeah.
At this rate, 271.
Well, that's the complaint. That's the complaint with Corbin's Vandy right now.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, Chris. I think Vanderbilt is the Arkansas of last year in this terms of just elite pitching. Hitting is the bottom of the SEC right now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's been
a high floor because they've got high quality
pitching. Definitely controls their floor. It's pretty high.
Where the ceiling is based off how well they're swinging.
The ceiling is definitely based off of the pitching, of the hitting in the lineup, obviously, but it's got to come from, I think, barrel and baseballs more, because you are last in the SEC in home runs. 31. Missouri has 38. It's not going to allow you to go deep in the postseason. I mean, you talk about Texas winning one-run ball games. How many can Vanderbilt win? Just the amount of pressure that you put on the pitching staff to do so. I mean, in Ole Miss, we talk about, the inconsistencies we've had a little bit with, Riley Maddox and the pitching staff as well. I think more so the bullpen. Their offensive production numbers, dead middle of the SEC, batting 296 with 69 doubles and 71 home runs. That's the difference. And it's going to speak loud once the postseason comes, because, it feels like it's going to be a quicker trigger on arms on the mound. And it's, can the offensive lineup pick it up? And Ole Miss proved to do that this series. And I think we'll prove to do that, I guess, more so throughout the season than the rest of the season than Vanderbilt will. And so that's why obviously playing at home at Swayze in front of the Crazies helps big time. But pitching travels, but if you don't have enough hitting, it's hard to outscore people.
Yeah, it's going to be a scary matchup for Vandy anytime they go up against somebody with a potent lineup, because you just wonder, can they keep up? Can they keep up? That's always going to be the question.
I mean, Chris, how many runners do you think they left on Vanderbilt did this series?
The whole series, I'll go 24.
That was a really good guess. 23. 7 game 1, 7 game 2, and 9 in game 3.
I figured about 7 or 8 per game. Yeah, that's I mean, that's just not going to get it done.
It's just not going to get done on the road.
They're just missing that big bopper that can come up.
Ole Miss left on 10, 8, and 4, but like when you're putting the ball out of the ballpark and, taking advantage a little bit more of getting guys in second base and hitting with a runner in score position, that's the difference.
Well, until you're asking Brody Johnson, a true freshman, to be a dude, and then you're asking R.J. Austin to hit in the 3-hole or whatever, and he's not that kind of guy. He's got 1 homer all year. Like they just lack pop. I mean,
they really felt like shut down Brody Johnson. Honestly, I think he had 2 hits. He went 0 for in game 2.
He was the big hero of the Georgia series.
Yeah, I mean, R.J. Austin. I mean, he had kind of like you said. I don't think he's not a 3, 4, 5 hole kind of guy. I don't think.
Yeah, great player, but just not that dude. He's just not.
I mean, Jacob Humphreys, the speed he has and the power he's got. Brady and Holcomb too. I think those are kind of more middle of the lineup guys. But it's gonna be interesting to see what Vanderbilt's season. They're gonna be one of those teams that just they're gonna be frustrating to play because of how good their pitching staff is, and it's gonna be, what is their season gonna look like? Their postseason kind of run, because of what we don't know where to get from the offense.
Yeah,
it's gonna feel like Arkansas postseason last year.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I love that take. I think they are the Arkansas of last season, and that's not a great thing because the offense is not good. Harrison, let's keep it moving. Let's go to Kentucky, South Carolina. Wildcats take 2 of 3 in Lexington. I don't know where the bigger story over the weekend is: Kentucky winning the series or South Carolina's TikTok antics. Either way, we start with Kentucky. I mean, listen, big series win for the Cats. You protect the home field. Tyler Bell continues to be fantastic at the top of your lineup. And, we know with that pitching staff, Kentucky is going to be a really, really tough out for anybody. I tell you, the other noteworthy thing here, Harrison, Ethan Petrie runs into the wall in this series. He is in a sling for the rest of the series. You wonder what his status is. I think that is a huge storyline leaving the series, but Yeah, Kentucky gets the dub. And again, it's just this middle of the pack thing. Cat sitting right there, 10 and 11, kind of just, just hanging out near the, bottom middle of the pack. Just that silent assassin in the conference with Nick Mingione. But again, they get the big series dub at all.
Yeah, Chris, and they do it the way that they continually play baseball is, good pitching, good defense, and stolen bases. I mean, it was just a situation which going to South Carolina is not as hostile as going to, I'd say, 8 of the other SEC kind of. There's at least 8 or 10, if not 12, in front of South Carolina of hostile environments to play in front of, this season specifically. And, a good time to, they don't even have to go there. You get to play them at home. Yeah. But, I mean, I think they would have won this series on the road even at South Carolina just with the way that they're playing. But, what you're going to get out of, it's not like you're facing Liam Dole and Marcus Phillips, in a Friday, Saturday role. I mean, Nate Harris and Nick McKay, and then you get Ben Cleaver on Sunday. It's just under the radar kind of guys that go out there and, give you quality starts week after week and give your team an opportunity to win. And the way that they play in clean defense and steal bases and, do the little things right is what keeps them in the middle of the pack of the SEC and why they're able to play with anyone. I mean, we've seen, Chris, they took 2 of 3 at Texas A&M, and then Texas A&M goes on this heater, right? I mean, they can play with anyone. And, this was a series which I don't think either one of us, even with a doubleheader, but had much faith in South Carolina going and taking the series on the road. The style which that they've been playing recently, the lack of production throughout the lineup, it was just, it was like this isn't a good spot for South Carolina. It felt like, and obviously they win game 2 with 2 runs late in the 8th, but it just felt like they continue to be who they are, which is not like. It's frustrating. It's hard to describe too, because it's like there's not a consistency on either side of the ball for them, I don't think, right now. And Jake McCoy's been one of their better arms for sure. And he struggled. He had 4 runs, 3 earned, and 4 2/3. But behind him, the bullpen picked it up a ton. And you got Braden Stone, who goes 7 innings, which helps saves the bullpen, I think, for this series and gives them more opportunities in the bullpen later, even though he gives up 4. But it's like South Carolina's not going to go out there and out hit anyone right now. That's not who they are. That's not their identity. And it's tough for them to see that. It's tough to see, I think, South Carolina struggle like this because, of the transition I think the program has been over the last 6 years, maybe 8. But, I mean, Kentucky did what we expect them to do, which was take 2 or 3 at home.
I'm just going to say this, Harrison, about South Carolina baseball. And this is something I've been talking about with folks for a few weeks now, but I will go out on a limb here with a bold take. I think Paul Mainieri is one and done. I really do. I think
long term.
I think he walks after this season. I don't know where the hope and the optimism is that he can turn it around. And how can he recruit? Realistically, what is his window of time that he was going to be there, even if things were going really, really well? I don't know how you can sell to a kid. And you know as well as I do, Harrison, that recruiting in baseball starts really early. So he's certainly not going to be selling to freshmen and sophomores, hey, I'm going to be here in 7 years. Their only hope, I guess, would be going out in the portal and just throwing money around. And I don't know if they're really in a position to do that. It will not shock me at all if Paul Mainieri is one and done. I just – because you got to think he's sitting back thinking to himself, what did I get myself into? And this is not worth $1.3 million or whatever they're paying me per year. And then you've got
there's $1.3 million is a lot of money for a year.
But for a guy like Paul Mainieri that's made plenty of millions, I don't know if he would deem it as worth it. And then you've got Harrison, and then you've got the TikTok thing. And I mean, dude, listen. There's been a lot of mixed comments on it, but I think for the most part, most of us agree. Brother, you just lost 2 or 3, and you are 5-16 in conference play. And here's the thing, Harrison. The kids doing it, whatever. They're dumbasses. They're college dudes. Whatever. I could look past that. But Harrison, did you see Monty Lee breaking it down in that motherfucker? Really? Monty Lee. His ass should be gone yesterday. the fact he's still, and I'm a guy that I liked Monty Lee for what he did under Ray Tanner. The fact that he's still on their payroll after you went to Clemson, blew up that program. Look at what's happened since they fired you and hired Bakich. They're probably going to go to Omaha this year.
Bakich is one of the best coaches in the country.
One of the best coaches in the country. Like, they upgraded immensely over your ass. Then you come to South Carolina. They've stunk since you've gotten there. And you're supposed to be one of the leaders of men on this team, and you're dancing around on TikTok like a fool while y'all are getting y'all's asses beat in Lexington, Kentucky, and you're 5-16 in conference play. And then you got fans with the audacity to comment, "Oh, let them have fun, man. What, you can't have fun?" No, you can't have fun when you're 5-16 in conference play.
Winning's fun.
You shouldn't be on TikTok acting like a fool. Like, what are we talking about? Like, bro, I just left Baton Rouge over the weekend. I was trying to comprehend, Harrison. I was trying to think, how would LSU fans react to this if it was their team and it was Nate Yeski or something like that? Josh Jordan. Bro, they would – you don't want to know what they would do. I mean, the standard is so incredibly far gone in Columbia. Like, I don't know, man. Anyways, TikTok.
It's night and day what it's been in the past.
TikTok thing aside,
12 years.
I will go out on a limb and say I think Paul Maneri walks after year one.
Well, Chris, I mean, we'll get to it obviously once we're done with UConn series recap, but like, if so, that's not the number one job in the SEC.
It's not. It's not.
But the
Maneri hire was always weird and didn't make any sense. And now Ray Tanner's not. Now Ray Tanner's not the AD. It was a panic hire and it was a desperate hire. It was a hire you were desperate for some national relevancy and you thought hiring a guy with 1,500 wins would get it for you. But here's the problem. There's a reason LSU pushed him out. Dude's washed up. Like, dude is not what he was. That's okay to admit, but he's just not.
We were talking about, like, how is he going to, recruit in this day and age? All the success he's had at LSU, like, it's a different landscape with NIL, transfer portal. It's like the recruiting aspect of amateur, even, let alone the transfer portal. Like, that's going to be interesting to watch and see, and obviously it takes more than 1 year to do that. But I mean, it feels like programs in college baseball, let alone college football, even more so, have just shorter leashes than ever.
I don't know that South Carolina would fire him. They might have a very real conversation at the end of the year, but dude, again, you're Paul Maneri. Like, why? Why would you stick this out? Like, you don't love South Carolina. Let's be honest here. You don't love the Gamecocks. Like, yeah, you're getting paid, but I don't know, Harrison. It's a mess. South Carolina baseball, obviously, a just complete shell of what it once was. And it's crazy. The man that built that program into a powerhouse, you could argue, is the same man that sent it down the tank, that being Ray Tanner with some of those hirings they made. I'm just saying, I mean, it's wild. Anyways, we could spend all day. Kentucky takes the series. South Carolina, they're in the dumps. Huge series coming against Florida, who comes to town red hot. Harrison,
go ahead. Preview this series. I'm going to grab my computer chargers. We got a lot.
You're good. Yeah, you're good. We do. We still have the Chris Lemonis thing. Auburn, Mississippi State. Auburn takes 2 of 3. Again, we are going long here on this show today because, again, we have so much to discuss and get into. I'll just speak for Harrison on this until he gets back. Not surprising here at all. Auburn at home taking the series, with Sam Dutton, Cade Fisher, Ike Irish, Cooper McMurray, the typical cast of characters. This Auburn team is very, very good, and we should not be surprised. Right in the midst of the hosting conversation, Auburn now finding themselves at 11-10 in conference play. But again, latest projections have them as a host. So, Harrison, I'll kick it to you. We'll talk separately about the Lemonis thing in a second. But Auburn taking 2 out of 3 at home, protecting the home field. This is a really good club, and I think a club we should be talking about more as we go into the end of the season because, again, hosting is right there in their sights.
Yeah, and it's predicated on just how consistent of quality starts they get from Samuel Dutton. Mm-hmm. I mean, going up against Pico Con, who's been one of the best starters in the SEC, even though I don't think it's a good stat, but his record's 4-2, whatever you want to take that for what it is. They got to Pico Con. 9 hits, 6 earned. in 6 2/3, and he still had 8 Ks, 1 walk. Like when he was in the zone, he was striking guys out, but Auburn took advantage and, had really, really good quality at bats. I mean, they put up a 4 spot in the 4th and then won this. I mean, it was just, I was really impressed with how they got to Pico because I thought if Mississippi State's going to win this series, they have to win Pico Constar, which they have done. Sometimes they have lost his really good starts as well, just like Oklahoma's lost some Kyson Witherspoon starts that have been really good. But to come back and bounce back in game 2 like they did and put up a double-digit spot, put up 12 on Auburn after losing game 1, when you lose Pico Con start, you put 4 up in the 1st, you put 6 up in the 4th. That was actually really impressive to see, I think, because of how good Auburn is and how good they've been playing. And it was because of, you still have struggling starts from your pitching staff, but the offense really picked up the slack. I mean, they got to Cade Fisher and John Armstrong, but, the bats just is something that we have seen some flares and sparks of, Chris, but we haven't seen play at a consistent middle of the pack level, let alone, consistently swinging the bat really well, right? And it was guys like it's Ace Reese, who I think is the core nucleus of this lineup for Mississippi State, has, a huge game in game 2, and Hunter Hines, a 3 RBI day as well for him, but he's just kind of streaky in that sense. But, you get Bryce Chance, who has a really good game too, but it's just, the lack of consistency you get from that, I think, is why they've lost more games than, they've expected or wanted to this season. Even though, you put up 8 in game 3, you give up a 14 spot because of, one more so huge than any of the other, but the second inning, you get 6 in the second. I mean, the struggling start of, less than, I want to say it's a cup of coffee, honestly, with Carson Lejean start, 8 runs, 7 earned, Chris, and 1 1/3. And then the bullpen kind of, holding some sort of line, but like you don't get enough offensive production after that, but it's hard to battle back from that, Chris. It really is. And, when you have a lineup that they have to face like Cooper McMurray, Ike Irish, Bub Terrell, Chris Rembert, as young as he is, and you have, Chase Frederick and Kate Ballou in the bottom of the lineup too that produce, it's hard to win series, let alone do it on the road, Chris. And it's just Mississippi State, I think the season as a whole has been so disappointing because of the expectations that Hail State has for baseball, the recent history they have of, winning their first national championship, and Chris Lemonis being the one who wins and leads Mississippi State to their first national championship. But the standard at which Mississippi State feels that they are at right now, this is not even a shell of what they feel like they should be.
Yeah, and that leads us into, I want to kick it to this, Harrison. We can segment this. Mississippi State on Monday firing Chris Lemonis on Monday, April 28th. He gets fired before the month of May even begins. Your immediate reaction to it, your thoughts on the firing, the timing, the program.
Yeah, and we've talked to a couple of sources, still got a lot more to figure out and see what we can learn. But, it's so weird, Chris, that it doesn't make sense and that something had to have happened. That you and I both think. I think too, for sure, because what does firing your coach 3 or 4 days before May do? And I've had this opinion from the jump, and we've kind of heard from others around, that cover the game and or inside the SEC as well, that, all the coaches you probably want and you were thinking about maybe hiring, they're all playing in May. They're all playing in maybe June, regional, super regional. In your roster now and your recruiting, it's like, all right, well, who's going to be the next coach? Do I have a scholarship next year or whatnot? Like, who's going to come in, style of play and everything? It's your roster is going to be tampered with the portal and what it is nowadays in college football, let alone college baseball. It's just like you open yourself up to, I think, get exposed. And I think that doing this before the end of the regular season, before even the end of the season as a whole, let alone the regular season, there's a can of worms I think is going to come out, but I think that something had to have happened because Chris Lemonis won Mississippi State their first national championship in baseball in program history.
And in any major sport, by the way.
In any major sport, too. And we know how much this program, even the past few years, but as a whole, I think in its program history, prides itself on college baseball, prides itself on their baseball team, the Diamond Dogs, Hail State. It's the number one sport at Mississippi State. Something had to happen because You don't do that. He did not deserve to get fired in the middle of the season just because of how, this season's been going, since the national championship. Based off of, I think, winning national championship in 2021 for Mississippi State, their first one in any major sport, like you said, unless something had to have happened, I think he deserved to finish the season off. I don't know what it is. I don't know, obviously, the details of it. We're still trying to find out more, but it doesn't make enough sense to me right now.
I will say this, Harrison. I agree with you. The timing is surprising, and I don't really know. I don't, like you said, I don't know what you gain from it. I am not surprised Mississippi State made the move, though. I am not surprised at all.
I think you make it in March, like early March, or you make it after the season.
Yeah. Again, the timing it's very easy to nitpick the timing. Because here's the thing, Harrison, this team could still make the postseason. That's what's so wild is like they're not totally out of the conversation. I mean, they've got Kentucky at home this weekend for a Super Bulldog weekend, which it'll be packed, which is so interesting to think about. I mean, their schedule, I think, is pretty manageable down the stretch where, like, again, they could get to 13 SEC wins. They could get in the postseason.
Yeah, and you got Ole Miss, and you got finished with Missouri.
Yeah, so, I mean, I am not surprised they fired Chris Lemonis because we are in a day and age when you lose hope, you lose funding, and you lose support, and those are just things you cannot tolerate, and State fans were done with Chris Lemonis. They were done. Now the question, Harrison, turns to this. Because I think this is one of the best head coaching jobs in college baseball. I really
Absolutely
do. You've been to the dude with the facilities, the fan support. Like you said, it's the number one sport in Starkville. The question now becomes, who's the guy? Who is the right guy? I know you put together a short list, and there's some names obviously floating around. Give me some of the names on your short list that you put on there that you think would make sense.
Yeah, and this is kind of just a meat reaction. Obviously, I think from my list from South Carolina's head coaching search last year that Paul Mainieri came out of nowhere, it felt like. And I'm going to say this isn't in specific order, but it's in a pretty good order, I think, of priority / interest of who would, I think Mississippi State would have won or should want. So hear me out. Nick Mingione, Kentucky head coach. I think it's going to be a tough one to get, but I think it's definitely doable because of the investment Mississippi State has in their program and their baseball program, it being the number one sport on campus. I think the buyout's going to be tough, but that's not something they should be afraid of. Justin Parker, the now interim head coach, who was the pitching coach at Mississippi State, who was the pitching coach at South Carolina before, and came from Indiana before that. I think if you give an assistant coach a headshot, he's a very good one to get. He knows the program, he knows the recruiting. He's proven to produce greatly so far as an assistant coach, and I think this could be a really good opportunity for him. I think another one after that, Texas assistant Nolan Cain. I think he is ready for a head coaching job potentially. I mean, he's been around this league so long. He played at LSU. He's on the College World Series team. Obviously, he knows this landscape. He's one of the best recruiters in the country. Best recruiters in the country, I'll say that. One of the best for sure. One of the best helps with player development in the country as well. You've seen the fruits of his labor. I think it's kind of overshadowed by Jim Slosnagle a little bit. I think Rob Vaughn, Alabama head coach, would be another very good hire. I mean, I think you could pluck him from Alabama. Obviously, it just depends on his kind of ties and what he wants to do. And obviously, a little bit of a buyout too. Josh Elander. And he was my number one for South Carolina's head coaching job. The Tennessee assistant.
This name always comes up.
Assistant associate coach.
For good reason.
Absolutely. I think he's one of the best assistant coaches in the country too. I really do. I think him and Nolan Cain are two of the top 5, at least, assistant coaches in the country. And they're both inside the SEC. And I think would do a phenomenal job as head coaches in the SEC, let alone at a program where there's as much investment in resources and support like Mississippi State. Granted, I think that situation is a little interesting. Like, does he want to, leave that where he is currently? Obviously family stuff too, but it reminds me kind of the assistant coach at Virginia under Brian O'Connor, who I'll get to in a second. But I think another one that's going to be really interesting as well after that, Skylar Meade, former South Carolina.
Dude, it's a matter of when, not if. Who's going to give this guy his first opportunity?
Troy head coach Skylar Meade. I think
he's got Troy in the top 25.
And I have a friend that is very, very close very, very close with Troy baseball and says, hey, keep sleeping on us. Like, keep sleeping on us. Like this, like, I'm telling you off the record, keep sleeping on us off the record. Right. And I think they're going to be one of the best postseason non-power 4 teams that are going to give teams a run for their money. Wherever they land, you're not going to want to see Troy, I think, as a mid-major. And I think he's one of the hottest coaching names in the young game, and one of the hottest young coaching names in the game of college baseball. And I think would be ready to take a head coaching role in a Power 4 program like the SEC. He's been a pitching coach in the SEC. He's been at Michigan State. He pitched at Louisville, I believe. And he's thrived, I think, wherever he's been. Another one, head coach at Virginia, Brian O'Connor, I think would be a phenomenal head coach, phenomenal hire if they could get him. The support around Virginia, I don't think is nearly what it is in the SEC, let alone at Mississippi State. But that's strange. Like, at his age and his tenure in his career, does he want to leave? You know, there's a lot of aspects that go into that as well. But Josh, another thing that I said reminds me of the Virginia situation is Kevin McMullen, the associate head coach at Virginia, who would be another great hire, who I didn't put on this list, but it's that same situation. He's been at Virginia for 22 years as the associate head coach for 19. Like, he's an incredible recruiting coordinator. He's an incredible hitting coach.
At some point, you're a lifer.
Yeah, exactly. Does he want to leave? Does he, want to take that step? Like, is that something he's interested in doing at this point? Right. So that's kind of the whole Elander, and then under Brian O'Connor thing, like Elander is with Vitello. Next one's Dan McDonald, the Louisville head coach, who was, I think, one of the higher guys on the list for not only South Carolina job, but the Texas A&M job. He was deep in discussions with them too. What he's done at a program like Louisville, Chris, imagine what he could do at a program like Mississippi State with the investment resources and support there, being the number one sport and being as passionate of a fan base as they are for baseball, let alone the SEC. I think another very interesting one that I haven't seen anyone else talk about that I think would be great for at least discussion and interviews, Will Davis, the Lamar head coach. What we've seen out of Lamar, I mean, to turn that program in just a mid-major to what they are now and just a beast, I think that would be a very, very intriguing hire, and that he will be a head coach at a Power 4 level sooner rather than later. So that's a name to keep an eye on. I think that no one's really talking about. That's my sleeper name. And then Lane Burroughs, Louisiana Tech head coach. He was on my list for, I think, A&M as well, but definitely South Carolina. What he's done at that program has been great. He's a very long tenure head coach. He knows exactly what he wants to do and how to execute that. I think he leads a program very well. I think he'd be a very interesting candidate and a one worth considering as well. But obviously, there's other names that maybe I haven't mentioned that others have mentioned.
A lot of Max Wiener talk on the timeline. Hey, I commend you, by the way, for not being one of those people that throws Tony Vitello on a list like this. I commend you.
No,
because by the way, the shout out to the State fans that Photoshopped.
That was a really good Photoshop.
That was a heck of a Photoshop.
And you can see some orange, but I think it was good purposely leaving some orange in there. But to run down again, Nick Mingione, Kentucky head coach, Justin Parker, now the associate or the pitching coach, but now the interim head coach at Mississippi State, Texas assistant recruiting coordinator, Nolan Kane, Alabama head coach, Rob Vaughn, Tennessee associate head coach and recruiting coordinator, Josh Elander, Troy head coach, Skylar Meade, Brian O'Connor, Virginia head coach, Dan McMullen, Louisville head coach, Will Davis, Lamar head coach. Shout out Micah for that one. And Lane Burroughs, La Tech head coach. But I don't think Will Davis, I don't think Micah's going to like that one for sure. But I think it's a really interesting name and candidate that should be highly considered.
I think that's a good list, Harrison. I'm fascinated by, are they going to try to pursue current head coaches in the SEC? Is it more the assistant route?
I think we're throwing around Butch Thompson there.
Could throw Butch Thompson in there. Do they want a guy that is more established? Are they willing to take a flyer on a younger guy like a Skylar Meade? It's going to be interesting because I think State's a job, man. Like, rival fans will scoff and they'll mock and they'll belittle. Listen, if Mississippi State calls you, there's a lot more coaches in the country listening than you might think. Like, a lot of them. Like, Mississippi State is a big-time job. And as long as they're willing to invest in the next guy and, like, have the NIL backing, I mean, listen, I said this, Harrison, and this is not meant as a slight. But, guys, if Tony Vitello can turn Tennessee into a powerhouse, do you honestly think the right guy can't get Mississippi State back up and rolling? with their facilities and their what? Knoxville's a better place to live than Starkville. I get that, but I'm just saying though, like with their resources, their facilities, their fan support, you get the right guy in there, Harrison. Mississippi State's going to be a problem. Like, it's going to be a problem. They are a sleeping giant. I talked about this last night when I talked about the firing itself. They are a sleeping giant. You get the right guy in there. If I'm State, and apparently, per sources, per their AD, they're going after a big name. But this takes us back, Harrison, to the timing. Because what's so fascinating, you ain't going to have a head coach for 2 months. I mean, the guys they want, 100% are going to be playing into June. 100%.
Yeah, if you want a big name, you want a big head coach, yeah.
And, bro, if you're State, you'd be making a mistake, in my opinion, not to go get a big name. So I'm fascinated what direction they go. You mentioned a lot of great names. I think Rob
Buyouts can be interesting, too. I think, obviously, Mississippi State's not afraid or should be afraid of any buyout, but I think that is going to play into a factor as well because I've seen Skip Johnson's name floated around. I mean, great head coach, but his buyout will not be cheap.
What makes State so fascinating with some of these names we've mentioned, Harrison, the Nick Mingiones, the Skip Johnsons, the Rob Vaughns, even the Butch Thompsons, like the thing State can pitch to all those guys is, hey, man, want to coach somewhere where they really care about baseball, like to a high level, to a high degree, to an elite level, they can pitch that, and those other schools just flat out can't.
Yeah.
They just flat out can't. So,
and I think after seeing the South Carolina hire and how that's gone so far, I think, I don't think Mississippi State wants to miss, let alone I don't think they can miss. They the fan base
gotta hit on this one.
They have to, and I think they will. I really do think it's gonna be interesting to see and hopefully have some more inside information on this and as we follow along. But it's gonna be a while maybe because if they hire someone that's playing right now, I mean, it's interesting. And a source of ours gave us a really good point too. Of it's like it feels like the situation at Georgia Tech a little bit. Like why announce Danny Hall's retirement 2/3 of the way through the season?
Yeah,
I thought that was. I mean, I call color analyst at Georgia Tech, and I thought that was odd.
Yeah,
like as long as of a tenured he is, like that's a victory lap you call at the beginning of the season or right before conference play.
Yeah, I know. Like
not named Ramsey as the
Yeah, things are different with the portal and all that and the calendar, but still, the timing was weird. I think we can all universally agree the timing is weird. I get why Mississippi State did it, and I actually applaud Mississippi State for saying, you know what, thanks for the title, but the standard's not being met. This thing is trending downward. We need to go a different direction. Like, I respect that, but now you got to go out and get a dude. Like, and there are dudes to be had out there, I think, but you got to go out and get a dude.
He's won the program their first national championship.
I get it. I get it, but you can't be bound to the guy forever.
No, I know, but like it should have finished the season.
That's fair. Listen, I can't argue against that take.
They still can make the postseason, Chris.
Here's the thing. I would have let him finish the season. I would have let him finish the season. I don't like what is if they like let's say they missed the postseason. What's the harm in waiting 3.5 more weeks? Like what did you miss out on if you waited? So I'd have no problem with that. Again, fascinated by who Mississippi State goes and gets. You mentioned a lot of great names. Certainly there's some others floating out there, but we are fascinated.
Skip Johnson, his bio is huge, but
yeah, we will cover this. We will stay on top of this. Certainly, we'll be reacting when the news comes down.
Hey, another one to toss out there. Maybe was it Josh Holiday at Oklahoma State?
It's a good one. That's a very good one. Guys, we're going to jump into the midweek. Talk about some of these midweek games. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, we're brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The wait is over. Baseball season is finally here, and you can start the season strong on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now FanDuel is celebrating the return of baseball by giving new customers $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to get on the action, from hits to steals to home runs. They got a lineup filled with all your favorite bets, or if pitching is more of your thing, FanDuel's got a deep bullpen of bets from strikeouts to shutout innings. So when you place your first bet, it can be on almost anything. And if it hits, you'll get $250 in bonus bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Must be 21 and up and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and up and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In New York, Harrison, another midweek slate is upon us. We have no Wednesday games, just Tuesday. The only two teams, well, actually, we've got more than two teams not in action because of weather. Arkansas, Missouri State has been canceled. The Oklahoma game has been canceled. They were supposed to play Wichita State. Florida is not playing in the midweek. And who is the other one? Who is the other one not playing? There's one more. For some reason, I'm not able to identify it at the moment. But either way, some interesting games in the midweek slate. Mississippi State hosting Memphis is one, Harrison, that is very, very obvious. First game post Chris Lemonis. I wonder what the crowd is like there. Kentucky travels to Western Kentucky. Auburn travels to Samford. Mizzou travels to Kansas. Your thoughts on the midweek slate and what? How about this? Lamar taking on Texas A&M in College Station. Thoughts on the midweek slate? What jumps out to you?
Lamar at Texas A&M definitely jumps out to me for sure. I think that's a big one. I think this, like, at this point, midweeks are going to be really interesting because it's like, close in the regular season, a lot of very big important series, I think, still up for SEC clubs. I think that if I had to go another direction, I'm definitely going to go Lamar, Texas A&M. I think Kennesaw State, Georgia could be scrappy again. We've seen it happen before. It could happen again. I've seen it happen in person. Another one, I'd say Western Kentucky, Kentucky. Western Kentucky is a really good offensive club that can swing in, I think, over half their offense hits above 315. And
Western Kentucky's 34-10.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good.
They're studs, and they're playing at Nick Dennis Field in Bowling Green, Kentucky, Chris. Don't sleep on the away.
Dude, how about
midweek game?
Yeah, how about Ole Miss, Austin Peay. Austin Peay's 34-10, 18-3 in the A-Sun.
Yeah, that's another really good one too. Especially the
Govs, right?
Series win for
that's the Govs.
After a big series win for Ole Miss, that's gonna be another important one too. We've gotten another great week of midweek slates for sure. I don't think we're worried as much about the one at Lawrence, Kansas, with Missouri and Kansas going off, but Kansas top 25 team now, ranked 25 in the country. So
that's crazy.
Hey, that place brings a band to their stadium.
Hey, Harrison, here's another one on the radar. How about Georgia getting Kennesaw State at home? We get a rematch.
I said that. Another KSU Georgia could get heated.
Get a little rematch.
Well,
how about
is it Foley Field where they feed the trees?
They do. How about Tennessee and North? Northern Kentucky.
We've seen North go in the postseason how well they've played, but
North.
I think after losing the series at LSU, I think Tennessee going to come in and take care of business in a dominant fashion.
I think so too. LSU Southeast
Mississippi State is going to be a good one. That's interesting to watch.
Yeah, well, it will because of, again, the post-Lemonis era beginning. How about LSU Southeastern Louisiana? Southeastern 32-11, 18-6 in the Southland. I mean, again, I think LSU takes care of business, but it's a week after you got run ruled in the midweek, so
yeah,
you know that LSU will want to make a point in that one. So
yeah, we'll see for sure. But I mean, I think my eyes, if I had to pick one, is on Lamar A&M.
Lamar A&M. Yeah. I like that one. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Lamar.
After losing at Texas, getting swept in Lamar 36-11. They're
need to bounce back. Need to bounce back and get the momentum going in a positive way.
Need to, for sure.
Again, Auburn, Samford Hey, how about this? They're playing Auburn, Samford at the Hoover Met. Tournament taste before we get going.
Why not?
Why not have a midweek at the Hoover Met? Get yourself ready for the tournament. Harrison, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. We have been going almost 2 hours, guys. We're going to go ahead and get out of here.
Chris, I do want to talk about top 25 real quick.
Okay, all right.
On that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you tweeted about who's in the top 25 right now. Obviously Texas still number 1. LSU jumps to number 2. Georgia at number 9. Auburn top 10. Chris, imagine from preseason top 10 now. Arkansas falls to 11. Tennessee at 12. Vandy drops to 15. Alabama at 18. Oklahoma at 21, Ole Miss at 23. Biggest takeaways, Chris, from me, I'll keep it kind of sweet and short, is Tennessee should have and had a chance. I'm going to say should have beat LSU in the series at the box. They dropped 6 spots after, a ninth inning blunder on the road to what is now the number 2 team in the country, and you drop 6 spots out of the top 10. I don't understand that at all. I think it's more so, I guess, a trend of how they've been playing recently, but I don't think you can't convince me that Tennessee's not a top 10 team. That's for sure. 23 Ole Miss wins a series at home, obviously, but versus number 9 Vanderbilt, and they win a midweek neutral site SEC game, and they don't move up at all. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. And then Clemson. I think Clemson maybe is the weirdest one because they were number 2 and they got swept by number 25 at the time, NC State. Right? They dropped 1 spot from 2 to 3 after getting swept by number 25 NC State. And NC State goes from 25 to 13. I don't know. Make it make sense, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the top 25 is fun to talk about. It's fun to discuss, but certainly there's not a ton of at times there's hard to make sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, 2 of interesting, obviously Oregon State 6 and 7, and then UC Irvine, California, baby.
How about them?
Number 8?
Top
How about
10?
Them? How about that? Top 8.
Putting on for the West Coast. I
just find it hard to believe that Oregon State. I think UC Irvine's playing incredible baseball, but I think in a series, obviously you don't do the rankings based off of that. But I just find it hard to believe that Oregon State's a better team than Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee being outside of the top 10, I think, was a little aggressive. I know they've struggled of late, but that was a bigger drop than I would have liked.
So. Yeah, so those are the things for me that caught my eye and confused me, but I don't make the rankings there.
Yeah.
But hey, all that matters is playing postseason baseball.
All that matters is where you end up in that field of 64 when we have that selection show on Monday, which will be absolutely electric. That's going to be a good time. Harrison, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We'll put a pin in it. Great show today. A lot of fun. Guys, feed us your questions on Thursday. We're going to go ahead and get out of here.
Yeah.
Again, long
I know we
show
didn't get
today.
Any questions and comments, but I was reading through them. A lot of good ones, a lot of funny ones for sure.
No, we appreciate y'all being – a lot of it's just Texas A&M and Texas fans talking trash in the comments. We appreciate y'all being engaging, all of the banter. We can't say thank you enough for your support, for tuning in. Thank you also for your understanding. We know we pushed this back 24 hours later than normal with me on the road, Harrison doing some things over the weekend. Needed to push back, but we will be locked in for really the rest of the way out because the next time I'm on the road, the plan is it will be Harrison and I together in Hoover, Alabama, and from there on we are off and running in the postseason. So again, the windup, Mondays, Thursdays, Friday night spikes. I will be back on that throughout the rest of the season. So we are locked in. Want to let you guys know. And again, thank you for being flexible and understanding if we need to move a show back or if maybe we're a few minutes late. We appreciate it.
A little bit early. No camera issues today. Hey.
No camera issues today. How about it? How
about it, baby? How about it?
I hate to play with fate here at the end of the show, but no camera issues. So again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in as always. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Harrison Fan, I'm Chris Phillips. This is the Windup SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show and the best college baseball show on the internet. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you all on Thursday.